This is the Trillium Running Podcast, brought to you by Athletics Ontario. I'm your host, John Shep, and here we celebrate Ontario running and bring together voices from across the road and trail running world. We are making strides towards a thriving and inclusive running community because running is for you, for all, for life. To celebrate the 50th anniversary of Tamarack Ottawa Race Weekend, Run Ottawa is partnering with Athletics Ontario's Trillium Running Podcast, hosted by myself, John Shep, to bring you this series of videos and podcasts celebrating all things Ottawa Race Weekend. And to launch our series off, we have the one and only Mayor of Ottawa, Mark Sutcliffe. Welcome to the Trillium Running Podcast Run Ottawa partnership.
John, thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be on the first episode of this special series. Thank you so much.
Well, and I promise we'll come up with a better name as we go along. But we needed to have someone not just who's run the race, but who knows the importance of the Tamarack Ottawa Race Weekend to the city of Ottawa. So I'll turn it over to you. I mean, as a runner, as a mayor, what does this project, what does this massive marathon mean to your city?
It's so huge for our city, honestly. The fact that the race has been around for 50 years, it's had some big ups and downs over the years, some big challenges, some hurdles that it's had to cross, but it's survived all of them, and it's amazing to be celebrating the 50th anniversary. I actually wrote a book for the 40th anniversary of the race, talking about the whole history of the Ottawa Marathon and Ottawa Race Weekend, and it really is a very rich and storied history. I participated in the event myself more than a dozen times, in the marathon, in the 10K, and the half marathon. And I've broadcast the 10K and the marathon many times, and I've been a volunteer. I was on the Run Ottawa board for a number of years. So I've been closely associated with this event going back now more than 20 years. And it's just such a rich part of our city. It's a milestone event for so many people every May. I see runners right now who are out training for the marathon and the half marathon and the 10K and the other races. It sort of organizes everybody at the beginning of the year. It's a great time of year, so people start running early in the new year to train for the events in May. And it's such an important part of our local economy. It's one of the biggest events that happens in the city every year, with 30 to 40,000 participants and lots of people coming in from out of town to join the event. And there have been years where every hotel room in the city has been sold out because of Ottawa Race Weekend. So it's huge for our visitor economy and for local businesses. So it really is a signature event in our city every year.
Well, and thank you for that. And I'm like you. I've run the race. I've done the 10K. I've done the marathon. I've got stories from each. I mean, when I was working for Timex Canada, I worked the event for, probably the 15, 20 years that you're talking about. And it really is like the expo that launches it is huge. It's got a huge amount of traffic. And then you have the events itself. I mean, you've got the 10K, which is the Canadian Championships. You've got it on the Saturday, and then you've got the marathon and the half marathon on the Sunday. Now, for you, what's your story? What's you as a runner? You've done the event. You got any good Ottawa Race Weekend stories for us?
Yeah, a few come to mind. First of all, my very first marathon, my first half marathon was in 2003 at Ottawa Race Weekend, and my first marathon was in 2004 at Ottawa Race Weekend. And both times I went into those races not knowing whether I could actually finish the race, whether I could run that distance. And so I have very vivid memories of crossing the finish line in both those events and feeling so relieved and satisfied, that feeling that you get when you achieve a goal and when you do something you weren't sure you'd ever be able to do. And one of my favorite memories of Ottawa Race Weekend actually was a year where I did not run the race. It was in 2009, and the race was on Sunday, May the 24th. And my wife was 9 months pregnant at that time. So I decided it was not a good idea for me to be out running a marathon.
Probably not. I don't think it would have got you many brownie points.
Yeah. So I took that year off from participating in the event as a runner, And instead, I went to the finish line and just watched people cross the finish line in the marathon and the half marathon. And I went there thinking, I'll pop by, I'll check it out, I'll see what's going on, I'll watch for a little bit, and then I'll go home. And it was so moving and inspiring to see one runner after another cross the finish line in the half marathon and the marathon, and to see the joy on their faces, to see the pain that they might be experiencing in the final few hundred meters, and then to see them realizing their goal, and to think about the fact that every one of them had a reason for running that race. Maybe it was about getting back in shape. Maybe it was about achieving a long-time personal goal. Maybe it was about raising money for the Ottawa Hospital or another charity. Every one of them had a reason for doing that race in memory of a loved one, that all of those reasons. And it was so powerful. I ended up spending a couple of hours watching one runner after another across the finish line, and it never got old. It was really, really powerful. And it made me think of, I can't remember who it was that said it, but we all run the same route from the start line to the finish line, but everybody has a different path to the start line. And that was really evident that day when I watched one spectator or one runner after another across the finish line, standing there as a spectator for the first time.
Yeah, and I ran it in 2017, and I can tell you that I felt that. I mean, I was working it probably from 2003, 2017. I was able to go out with my mom, and I remember vividly, I mean, it's always hot in Ottawa race weekend, let's be honest, but the volunteers, they had sponge buckets. I was cool the whole time. It was nice being able to see the route because you get to travel through some really interesting parts of Ottawa. You obviously get to go into Gatineau and fly through Quebec a little bit. And so it is unique in that sense, but it is that feeling at the end when you cross the finish line and you've got everybody there for you. It is a phenomenally put on event. And I am really looking forward to everybody who's going to participate in the 50th anniversary. And so maybe some final words for anyone who's lacing on their shoes, and I guess at this point in time, their spikes, who are going to be competing in Ottawa.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, when I was talking about all the benefits of the marathon and Ottawa Race Weekend earlier, I should have mentioned as well the charity component, which I alluded to a minute ago, the fact that thousands of runners who participate raise money for local charities, and that's a huge impact on our city as well. And I've done that myself. The very first marathon I ran, and maybe 4 or 5 times that I've run the Ottawa Marathon, I did it as a fundraiser, and it really adds something to the experience. And so I recommend that to runners if you're participating and you want to add something more to the experience, do it as a fundraiser, and you'll find running for a reason is really powerful, and it helps you get out the door for the training runs, and it helps frame the whole experience in a different light. So I encourage you to do that. You do have to prepare for warmer temperatures. Today is, I think, the coldest day of the winter so far as we're speaking today. But you have to be ready to run on a warm day because it often is warm that weekend in May. But as you just alluded to, I would say, soak up the event, soak up the atmosphere, spend time at the expo, hang around with the other runners, go to some of the other events. And then when you're running the course, especially if you're not going after a really fast time or something like that, as most runners are not, enjoy all the different neighborhoods. You run through so many different neighborhoods with cheering sections, and you get to see so much of the national capital when you're running the race that just look around and see all these different neighborhoods and interact with the spectators and wave at them and just enjoy that, because there are a lot of spectators along the route and cheering stations and volunteers who are participating in this event. And it's really a fantastic experience from start to finish.
Well, and you talked about it, soaking it up. And so my cheap plug is soak up these interviews, soak up these videos, soak up these podcasts. So the Run Ottawa Trillium Running Podcast series leading into the 50th anniversary of Tamarack Ottawa Race Weekend will be releasing every 2 weeks. It'll be up on the Run Ottawa YouTube channel, For the long form episodes, we'll be putting it out both on the YouTube channel and the Trillium Running Podcast, and we'll link all that in the comments section below. But Mayor Sutcliffe, thank you so much for launching us off. And hey, good luck in running whatever you are running this spring, summer, and fall.
Thank you so much, John. It's been a real pleasure, and good luck to all the runners who are participating in Ottawa Race Weekend.
Thank you to Tamarack Homes and Athletics Ontario for helping us bring this video and podcast series to you. Join Tamarack Homes in celebrating the 50th anniversary of Ottawa Race Weekend. Register now at runottawa.ca. And don't forget to visit athleticsontario.ca or check out the show notes to become a Road and Trail member and discover all of Athletics Ontario's amazing benefits, including discount codes to some of your favorite or soon-to-be favorite Ontario races.